The Ice Age was a period in the history of the world that began in the Pleistocene epoch 2.4 million years ago and lasted until 11,500 years ago. During this period, the climate shifted from extremely cold to extremely hot. Hey guys, how have you been? Today at Just History, we're going to discuss what it would have been like if we were suddenly shifted to the Ice Age. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and drop a like before we start the video. An overview. During the freezing phase, most of Earth's surface was covered by glaciers. Conversely, during the boiling phase, the glaciers melted, rising the water levels. The cold periods were called glacials, while the hot phases were called interglacials. So what would it feel like if you woke up one day and found yourself in the Ice Age? Well, one thing's for sure, you'd be freezing to death instantly. Now, that might sound a little depressing, but here's the thing. Due to evolutions, we humans have shifted our body warmth and toned it down a lot. We're not capable of withstanding a cold environment such as the Ice Age, so it wouldn't be wrong to say that a few hours is the most that we can survive in the Ice Age. Even if we somehow manage to withstand the chilly breeze, there's no way your body could surmount the oxygen deficiency. Yes, that's right, cold environments are deficient in oxygen and our bodies need to depressurize a bit before we can suddenly move to a chilly environment. The pressure would instantly crush our insides if we didn't do so. Climate changes. As per Rick Potts, the paleoanthropologist heading the Smithsonian Institution's Human Origins program, the last 100,000 years plus have been a time of tremendous oscillation of both cold and warm in the higher latitudes and also wet and dry in the lower latitudes. The period between 15,000 to 11,700 years, colloquially termed as the Ice Ages, saw incredible climatic instability. It is reported that temperatures oscillated from cold to extremely cold. This ever-shifting environment and abrupt temperature changes called for rapid adaptation to survive. At the beginning of the Ice Age, the Homo sapiens were not the only hominids around. The last vestiges of the long-lived Homo erectus and short-statured Homo sapiens traversed the islands of Indonesia. The Denisovans populated Asia and the Neanderthals tolerated the cold conditions of Europe. However, as the Ice Age furthered, our closest ancestral kin could not survive and the Homo sapiens remained standing. Different theories for the survival of the Homo sapiens. Several researchers, paleontologists, and archaeologists have avidly studied that time to understand the reason for the sole survival of the Homo sapiens. It has been postulated that almost all of North America was buried underneath a Laurentide ice sheet, which is considered to be a massive ice block several miles deep. Surprisingly, Alaska remained mostly glacier-free due to the lack of precipitation. Since the sea levels were much lower, Alaska was connected to Asia by a land bridge known as the Beringia. This allowed for the movement of animals and, eventually, humans between the two continents. As explained earlier, these were the early Denisovans that populated Asia. One of the much talked about theories postulated that the hominins were wiped out by the smarter, more evolved Homo sapiens that evolved with the changing environment. Hostile takeover through violence and the eventual shortage of food for the hominin species may have caused their eventual extinction. The history of rampant violence between species so closely interrelated has been a point of contention for most researchers. Inadequate evidence for the same disregarded this theory. The most acceptable theory to date remains the climate change theory. Abrupt climate changes and oscillating temperature changes led to the ultimate disappearance of populations unable to adapt to these changes. Around 40,000 years ago, several spells of cold, dry weather devastated the Neanderthals despite several biological and behavioral adaptations to the cold climate. Neanderthals were thought to remain in small groups. This massive cold spells, climate fluctuations, and the resultant reduction in the food supply, worsened by the demographic, made it exceedingly difficult to sustain. The inability to reproduce in the harsh environments and the lack of food and nutrients ultimately led to their extinction. Similar situations arose for the hominins around the rest of the globe that remained in one particular place. Even after all that struggle, you somehow managed to survive one day in the Ice Age. Here comes the biggest problem of all. How are you going to feed yourself? During the Ice Age, only the strongest of animals survived, which means every animal you could think of having as dinner would have been a lot stronger and smarter than you are. They are more familiar with prey and predator concept, and they can easily turn the tables on you. Hey there fellow history buffs, hope you guys are enjoying the video so far, because if you guys are, you seriously need to subscribe and like the video as well. It has been postulated that one major reason for the survival of Homo sapiens, in contrast to the others, is the scattering of populations to different parts of the globe throughout the ages. The sole survivors. Homo sapiens, our species, were the only humans to survive the harsh, constantly changing climate that was the Ice Age. As mentioned earlier, severe colds, lack of food, and the inability to reproduce in such a difficult environment led to the extinction of those before us. As per research, Homo sapiens appeared before the Ice Age around 200,000 years ago in the continent of Africa. When the Ice Age came into full force, the African terrain remained sheltered from the glacial activity that affected the other hominins. This protection from the massive climate change played a key role in sustaining the Homo sapiens. Around 70,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, Homo sapiens decided to travel and spread around the globe. Flourishing forests, dry, arid deserts, lake shores, or areas with massive rain were all areas that the Homo sapiens moved to. Enduring an assortment of environments and sustaining that area required developing skills specific to each area. The ability of our ancestors to do this is our reason for existing today. The development of society. It's reported that the Homo sapiens were food gatherers and hunters. The ability to develop sharp tools and hunt for survival was the keystone of sustainability. It's postulated that the Neanderthals had auditory and speech capabilities similar to ours. Early Homo sapiens may have had amplified vocal flexibility thanks to their anatomy, enabling their language to proliferate and convey complex information about local surroundings, including flora and fauna and changing climate conditions. According to Potts, finer control leads to cultural and behavioral diversity, and, therefore, the ability to figure different things out in different places. A common language leads to a sense of camaraderie within the rest of the population. Several researchers have also said that compared to the rest, Homo sapiens shared a sense of social identity communicated through personal adornments, art, and societal rituals. The symbolism and common societal rituals created broad connections beyond just their community. It can be postulated that such connections served as a contingency plan. Food shortage, acute climate change, or any such drastic issues could be shared within communities. If your area becomes hostile, you could turn to your neighbors for assistance. Allies in such difficult environments and a strong sense of kinship would probably have been the reason for our survival. The Neanderthals, though excellent at surviving local environments, lacked this sense of kinship and much needed help. The development of tools. Another factor that played an important role was the ability of the Homo sapiens to develop sophisticated stone tools. Although sharp-pointed tools were already being used by the ones before Homo sapiens, spreading this technology and creating improvements in already present tools was done by the Homo sapiens. Our well-developed communication skills played a huge role in this process. Sharp and well-developed tools helped to forage for food, hunt larger animals, and reduce the chances of food storage. Thus, one of the primary reasons for the elimination of the hominins, the lack of food, was reduced by a huge percentage by the Homo sapiens. The Ice Age ended and the world thawed around 11,000 years ago. As the conditions grew more favorable, societies and settlements came into being. Language and common rituals banded people together into communities. What a single person cannot achieve, a group of people can get done. People came together to cultivate crops, reducing dependence on foraging and hunting. With food and sustenance not being the sole aim, music, art, culture, camaraderie, and the basis of high-functioning society became important. Thus, the foundation of a civilized society was laid down. Unfortunately, we will have to end the video here, but hey, don't worry, you can always check out other videos on our channel, Just History. Before you leave, why not like this video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.